Riverside.
And with that, we're back. 4th and 1 podcast live from Lancaster and Lititz, Pennsylvania. It's your boy, Fancy Trash Can, a.k.a. self-nickname, a.k.a. Darth Vader Head. Sitting next to, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, Captain Boring himself. Captain Boring, for those of you first, you can find us, anchor.fm/4th and 1, everywhere you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube at 4th and 1 Podcast, Instagram at 4th and 1 Podcast. Micaiah has been giving you a little extra dose if you've been following us on YouTube. 10-minute sport report videos. I have seen exactly 0 of them, so I'm sure they are absolutely fantastic.
Oh, they're terrible. They're terrible. I'm going to be completely honest. They're terrible.
You got to find your groove. I mean, here's the deal. We are going into our 3rd year doing this. And we have 20 subscribers? No.
21
viewers. Oh, 20. We do have 20 subscribers.
Yeah, 21. Yes.
Oh, wow. That's a lot more than I actually thought we had. We have 21 subscribers on our YouTube channel. We have about 3 or 4 active listeners elsewhere. Thanks to the analytics at anchor.fm. It's Spotify for podcasting now. Anyway, it's anchor.fm/4th and 1. I'm assuming that still actually gets you to us. Anchor.fm. I'm going to look it up. FM/4th and 1. I have my expensive keyboard. Yes, it does. It will redirect you immediately. Podcasters.spotify.com. Mine is way better. Still go to Anchor. You can find us everywhere.
Hey, it works.
And it does. Somehow I was an idiot, and no, I was not. That was April 14th was our last podcast.
I thought you have been up to date with uploading them all.
I was a little bit late last week, but talk about someone who's making a splash and a little bit to cover off.
Ooh, good transition. Good transition.
Yeah.
See, we can tell who's the vet, what segments are the vets here, because this is your 3rd year doing it, right? These transitions just come naturally easy to you. The humor's right off the bat. Meanwhile, if you go listen to the 10-minute sports report exclusively on YouTube, may I add?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
That one person asked for and no one really wants. They're just terrible. I got no rhythm. I'm basically it's just bullet points. I'm basically just reading you scores and giving you bullet points. I will crack a joke here and there, but then like today I try to be funny and it's just going to fall flat on its face.
You never know until you try it out. And yeah, I remember when we first started this podcast looks a lot different.
Oh,
So,
it looks so much different.
Kudos to everybody who listens. Thank you for listening. We enjoy doing this. And, if it hasn't been, not that we don't love our fans, we do this for ourselves or we wouldn't be doing it at all. Colorado had 18 players that by the end of the day, when was this? This was Monday morning, enter the transfer portal, including a 10-game starter in their safety, Taryn Taylor. 2 weeks ago, we covered a little bit, kind of hopeful for Colorado in making a huge turnaround. Micaiah, you said CFP insider Robert said what now?
So I'm just going to piggyback just real quick to give everyone. So Colorado's spring game was on Saturday. Colorado won 4 games, I believe, in 2022. I think it's 4 games.
They had one conference win.
Yes, I'm sorry. Let's start over. They won 1 game, and they went 1-11 in 2022, so they even did worse. So they brought in him. They sold out their spring game. It was snowing. It was cold. Reese Davis, RG3 were there. It was cold. Their standout in the spring game were wide receivers Jordan Tyson and wide receiver Montana Lemonis Craig, who both led the team in receptions and receiving yards respectively in 2022, and they both transferred Monday morning. And then today I read a article that over the weekend all these players, so it's 18 of them, entered the transfer portal. 18 Monday morning, as Simeon said.
I'm trying to find more.
Over the weekend, Colorado was, or Monday, so Tuesday, Colorado was denying all the players who they were transferred. They were denying to give them their practice tape from fall of 22. So not even spring of 23, not even under the watchful eye of Dion. It was pre-Dion. They were refusing to give their transfers their practice tape to give to other colleges to try to go get another scholarship. It's not only that. Now, I don't know whether or not most schools do that or if this is just Dion thing. They also basically are telling players, yeah, you can probably just leave the program because we're good, including 5 offensive linemen just today. And that is based on not CFP insider Roberto. That's what he told me today, right before we came on. They cut 5 linemen today, and they're just outright telling kids, hey, man, I think it's just best if you leave. Roberto has never given me a piece of information that is wrong. He's never given me a piece of information that's wrong. Something's going on in Colorado.
27 transfer.
Oh my goodness!
Out since Sunday. Chase Sowell, a 3-star wide receiver, was the first one to transfer out. Now, granted, they've had. If you look at their things, shout out to 24/7 Sports. Honestly, not sponsored. Absolutely. Great website.
Yep.
They've had a mass exodus. Also a mass, a lot of people coming in. A mass incidents, a mass entrance, I think would be the correct word I'm looking for.
Right.
Here.
I mean, his son, Shedeur Sanders, came in.
A 4-star linebacker from Alabama.
Yep.
3-star edge from State.
An edge rusher from Arkansas, his son, a defensive back and / wide receiver, Travis Hunter.
They still have the best transfer ranking according to 24/7 Sports, even after losing, what was the number I just said? 27?
Yeah, 27. Yep.
27 players.
But here's what I don't get. I would understand if Dion gets the job and be like, I mean, in his defense, he got there and he said, I'm coming and I'm bringing my Louis Vuitton luggage with me, so y'all go ahead and hop in the transfer portal. But I'm just going to proclaim this because this isn't even what I wanted to rant about today, Simeon. This isn't how you build a college football program. So, yes, he got a 5-star corner to pair up with Travis Hunter, his son Shedeur. They're going to run basically a 2012 Oregon Ducks offense, Simeon, under Chip Kelly, where they're going to be undersized, but they're going to run 100 plays, 85 to 100 plays per game, and they're just going to wear you out, right? That's the hope. They have no depth now. Are you kidding me? This isn't how you run a program where basically Dion has gotten there and said, y'all are losers. Y'all can't even win 2 games. Get out. I don't want you here. That's what's happening, at least from the outside.
Wisconsin also had their spring game.
They did. Yes. A lot of teams did. Yes.
You know how many transfer outs they had?
I'm going to say.
Too. New coach.
Okay. New coach. So right? I'm going to say 5.
2.
Michigan had 4.
So here's my thought process. I'm going to go on the opposites just for the sake of the podcast. I'm going to go on the opposite side of the coin here.
Yep.
He has said this since day one.
He has. Yep.
Also, he ain't wrong. They won 1 game last year.
True. Right.
They are losers. There is a certain softness that comes to football players and Generation Z football players on top of that. Now, I don't know how many of these guys are going to get cracking the top, right? Because if I have a coach come in who didn't recruit me, come in and go, y'all are losers, y'all don't work hard enough, y'all don't have enough swagger, we out here, here's a van load, a truckload, he backed up the truck. He opened the bus doors and put off an entire starting offense. Half guys. He transferred in 12, right?
Right.
Immediately?
Yeah, something like that.
He transferred in 12 guys. So half of your starting positions he transferred in. And you're not a starter. So your morale's low. You're being worked differently than you ever worked to, and your expectations are the absolute rockest bottom.
Right.
You tell me you don't expect 27 people to leave.
It's 31 since April 15th, by the way.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's half the team at this point by the time, because he had 8 guys leave, because it was immediate. He came in first meeting. He said, "Some of you guys aren't good enough to be on this team, and should just leave. I'm not going to try to convince you to stay."
Correct.
We're not doing that. We're not. We are starting to. Which, to be fair, from a leadership perspective, ballsy,
Right.
but gets the point across.
Correct, but it only in college football you have to have depth. You have to have depth.
But Makai, for every guy who's transferred out, he's going to have a guy who transferred in, and he's going to.
No, but I don't think that that's true. Because word gets around. I mean, Simeon, come on, these are college kids. You were their age. These kids are talking to everyone and everyone.
Everyone and anyone, they're all over Twitter right now. I guarantee you, if
Yeah.
you have a Twitter account, if you
100%.
look at their Instagram stories, they're trash talking. They don't like the coach. These aren't happy leaves. This isn't a dude who went, okay, I got some reps in the spring. I look good, but like so-and-so and so-and-so are going to be ahead of me on the depth chart.
Montana Luminous Craig, Luminous. I'm sorry, Montana. I don't know how to pronounce your first hyphenated name. Yeah. He balled out in the spring game. He had 168 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Now, I'm with you. Deion's been saying this since day one. So I like that he's a man of conviction and a man of his words, and he's saying all the same things, right? Like he's saying all the good things, like we're gonna work, we're gonna do us, we're gonna be us. And he has like 5 rules. We're gonna be fast, we're gonna be respectful. You know, he's pulling the women members of the staff up. He's like, if you ever disrespect them, I'm kicking you off the team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I understand that he's teaching these boys to be men, but this isn't how you build a 1-11 college football program. You cannot let half your football team leave before fall.
All right, we have to do this. Well, I want to go and take a look here real quick. Here's the thing. There are 2 thought processes. I'm having 2 thought processes. One, I agree with you. But also at the exact same time, if he's not being disrespectful, if he's not being abusive, we don't know. He could be being both of those things, right?
Sure.
Word probably would have gotten around. Normally, you don't get to be that abusive.
Especially with someone like Deion, yeah.
So assuming he's not those 2 things, right?
Which we don't think he is. Yep.
Nick Saban walks a pretty fine line and is very public about how hard he is on his guys. So
correct.
I'm just assuming he's not doing that. Or even if he is. You don't change a culture by letting people stick around. And you're blinking your eyes, which means you don't quite get what I'm saying.
No. I understand what you're saying, because at my job, my new boss, when he came in, he did a very much Deion thing.
Henning left?
AJ from Michigan. Now we're on to Michigan. Yes, AJ Henning left, but Simeon, think about this. He was there for 3 years. He's a junior, right? He was a junior. He a redshirt junior. He never even made the starting rotation at wide receiver. And you know how often, like, come on, like he was a punt return specialist. So yes, sorry to see him go. Also, Nikhil Hill-Green also left. He was a starting nickel corner. He also left, which makes us very thin at corner.
Leave, Taylor Upshaw, Ed.
Yes.
Guess who transferred out?
He went to Colorado, right?
And then transferred out. He's in the transfer portal.
So
what that tells me is we're missing something. Something got said after the game that's not on camera, that no one's talking about, which is Deion Sanders laid down the law. Because you're 100% correct. Whatever you were about to say about your boss, I do want to hear that. It did sound interesting. But Deion clearly saw something he did not like. When he joined, which is why he's just like, we ain't because word would have come out that he did the same thing at Jackson State. It would have come out immediately.
Right.
Oh,
yeah,
hey,
probably.
He did the same thing at Jackson. He had the same conversation at Jackson State.
But he didn't.
So he came into Colorado. So he clearly saw something in Colorado specifically and was like, none of you are worth keeping around. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it wasn't because they were losers. You have to be pretty dumb to just kick people out because they were losers.
Well, you can
That's
make
a fast way to never get hired again.
I mean, look at the Sacramento Kings, right? Sacramento Kings hadn't made the playoff in 16 years, 17 years, right?
Yep.
That NBA franchise full of losers. You hire the right coach, now the losers become the winners. So this goes to your point. Deion's not just getting rid of losers.
Yeah, but you're talking about the 1% of the 1%.
No. I understand,
basketball roster,
but it's the
college football roster.
But it's the principle. The principle still works. And what I was going to say about my boss was, my boss came in and he says, these are my expectations. If you don't want to meet these expectations, or if you don't get on board with the expectations and you're constantly rowing against the grain, then unless if you do something that makes me fire you, you're probably just going to get tired and you're probably going to have to find a new job. So is that what's going on in Colorado? I don't know. It just seems a little over the top. And if this was Florida State, Deion's alma mater, if this was Michigan, if this was Alabama, if this was Deion doing it at one of these programs, it would be red flags everywhere. If this was happening to Harbaugh, red flags everywhere. If this was happening to Nick Saban, red flags everywhere. Heck, Nick Saban's two quarterbacks competing for a starting job had a terrible spring game. Terrible. They looked awful. And alarms are blaring in Tuscaloosa. So the only reason Deion is quote unquote getting away with this currently is because it's Colorado. But fans are going to be real sorry when Colorado's ceiling is 5-7. Their over under this year, you can bet right now, FanDuel is 4.5. Robert's hammering the under because right now he just can't stand Deion and everything. But I just come back. I understand you don't want bad apples, but you can't tell me that 31 players since
their top two receivers. I just realized that
since April 15th, and their top two receivers, that all 31 players were bad apples. And at the Division I college football level, and especially in the Pac-12 with USC, UCLA, Oregon, we literally just did the Pac-12 preview, did we not? Right? And we argued over the Pac-12 preview. You have to have depth. And my thing is, I'm coming in, if I'm Deion, I'm bringing in all my guys. I'm taking whoever. But I'm trying to keep as many players there until year 2. Just get them through year 1. Try to change the culture. And then at that point, then you can be a hard ass and ask people to leave. But this is kind of ridiculous. You basically have just dismissed an entire football team. Well, dismissed, caused to leave, or didn't stop from leaving an entire football team. Now, you have 85 scholarship players, so you're down to 50-something, assuming all 31. You're down to 54 scholarship players. You might get to 70 in the fall. Might get to 70 in the fall. Meanwhile, USC has all 85 plus another 20 to 30 guys that are just walk-ons, probably more like 20. They have 105 guys they can just run at you all day long. And Caleb Williams.
So 46 players in all have turned to the portal since December 2nd when Deion took over.
That's 2 football teams. 2.
That's a third of a roster, right?
It's 85 scholarship players, so it's half of scholarship roster. Again, college rosters, depending on how big the program, run around about 100 players. Because then you got about 20 walk-ons or so. 15 to 20 walk-ons. So yes, he basically half the team since he got there left. And I understand, they were 1-11. They're terrible. But even guys, especially their 2 leading wide receivers, you would think would have something to...
So, there are 2 things that are kind of suspect to me.
Sus?
We'll have to cover. They're kind of sus to me. One, Colorado hasn't released a statement. The only statement Colorado said is you can have any film before spring 2023. We're happy to give it to you. And not from Deion, from Heather, probably public relations.
I should come out and, I didn't correct that. You are right. Colorado decided today to allow their transfers to have their videotapes. And my guess,
spring 2023. You were right.
Correct.
They're not getting. They're not getting their film.
Which
Saturday.
I also kind of agree with, because you don't want, like, if you're Deion, you don't want like your thing to get loose, right? Your formations or whatever. But
you don't want your game film. No.
Thank you.
Not, it doesn't seem salty to me. So 1, Colorado hasn't made a statement. 2. So we're only getting one side of the story, and a quick read over a Bleacher Report article because the Athletic's behind a paywall. Basically, what the people feeling left. First of all on the 1-11 team. Second of all, saying that the coaches didn't care because he brought in whole new coaching staff too.
Right.
This.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Coaches didn't care about him, which you went 1-11, dude. Like, I'm having a hard time feeling bad for anybody, or like this is a yellow flag for me. This is a caution. If this keeps up and the results aren't there, you need to take a long, hard look at Deion Sanders.
I just think Deion really underestimates how short of a leash he has. I really do.
I don't think he cares, dude. Does Deion Sanders seem like the type of dude who cares? You've seen the same highlight. Whenever he was drafted, 1980 something.
Right.
Did that Deion Sanders
look
like he cared?
No. And his language to the kids and to everyone has said listen, I'm 50 years old. I'm here not for a long time. I'm here for like a good time in meeting they'll win championships. And I'm here to make kids' lives better. If he was truly there to make kids' lives better, this isn't how you go.
I disagree.
This isn't how you go about it.
I disagree, Micaiah, because he's not running a daycare. Any kid who makes it through, mind you, he still hasn't turned over the entire team, so it's not like everybody's left and he brought in someone new. So, first of all, it's not like any kid who makes it through this has a story. And will learn a lot about leadership and either what to do or what not to do. There will be nothing in between. Second thing, these kids get to go somewhere else. It's not like they're not going to play football. Also, they're not losing their livelihoods.
True. Okay?
And anybody who disagrees with me on that part, you need to go climb a tree and fall out of it. The third thing
that was good.
Is kind of roping back around to that daycare. He's running a amateur football team. These is voluntary.
True. But at Jackson State, right?
Which is voluntary.
Right,
Colleges,
but-
you pay them
But
most of the time.
But at Jackson State, if he went 5-7, which he didn't, he was highly successful, like almost immediately, right? He only he was like 20.
And
He
I
was
agree,
20.
I think 5-7 is close to the ceiling.
He was 27-7 or something at Jackson State, right?
Yeah.
If you go 5-7 at Jackson State in your first year, you're Deion Sanders, you're at an HBCU. There's some leeway there, okay? Based on one thing or another, there's some leeway there. You just sold out your spring game. You are ushering people into the transfer portal. You're bringing your son, a 5-star corner, the number 1 overall player in the 2022 recruiting class. You've brought the 5-star, the number 1 ranked corner from the 2023 class. You're telling me you win 5 games, and you're telling me you're going to get paid whatever Colorado can't even pay Deion because they don't have the money for? That seat gets pretty hot really fast.
It's a 2-year seat, for sure.
You better be competing for a Pac-12 championship in year 2.
Well, I mean, you and I disagree, but agree enough because I look at their schedule and go, okay, probably about 3 to 4 losses. You look at their schedule and go, add the same amount to my total. Add 3 or 4 more.
Right. They're a 7-loss team.
We're 4, which is, by the way, they're over-under, games away from each other. And
Hello?
really?
Uh-oh.
I can still hear you, which this is always fun. My Wi-Fi has been crappy recently, which has just been 10 out of 10 reliable. Actually, it hasn't been my Wi-Fi. It's been Comcast. You gotta love them.
Okay. Everyone, welcome back. So Fancy Trash Can is having currently some internet issues. So I don't know what of how much he's going to keep and cut together. So if this is your first time hearing me solo, welcome. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start over. I talked a little bit about Michigan when he first disappeared. And then we kind of abruptly ended the Colorado talk. I was talking about Michigan's 2024 recruiting class. Then that stopped. Then we tried to get back on. He couldn't. Or we restarted, and that didn't happen. So this is the brand new start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about Michigan here, re-talk about the 2024 recruiting class that Harbaugh currently has going on, and then I'm going to end the podcast, even though we had some other great topics we wanted to talk about, which is kind of unfortunate, but maybe we'll hit you guys up next week with another weekly kind of episode. My brother wants to complain to Comcast because they have spotty internet, especially when high usage kicks up. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to re-talk about, as I said, Michigan's 2024 recruiting class. So let me do that right now. So Michigan's 2024 recruiting class, according to 24/7 Sports, is now the number 1 recruiting class in all of college football, which is awesome if you are a Michigan fan, as I am. If you can't tell by my sweatshirt, by my Xbox controller, I will show you, everybody, by my Xbox controller, or literally any of my other memorabilia. And I'm going to take you around. So you got the Wolverine. I don't even know if this is a good podcast, but it is to me. So you got the Wolverine Avenue right here, right? I'm going to hope that this works. You have the Michigan flag right here. This is also a look around my basement. So congratulations, everyone. You get to look around Captain Boring's basement. It's about as boring as my nickname. So Avenue, you got the flag hanging on the wall. That there is a threat level midnight poster from The Office. If you're not familiar with The Office, catch up because it's way late to be late on you knowing what The Office is. And then we also have a Michigan football signed by Rich Rodriguez. He was a much better coach than everyone gives him credit for, okay? I don't even want to hear it, Michigan fans. He was a much better coach. Way, way better than that bum Brady Hoke. Get the F out of here. So Rich Rodriguez football, a Michigan teddy bear my sister made me for Christmas. That is a Michigan sign. And then a incomplete Michigan Stadium Lego set that I have not finished yet because I'm lazy. So anyway, if you can't tell I'm a Michigan fan, just use context clues, I guess. So anyway, they have the number 1 recruiting class according to 24/7 Sports. They just signed 2 top ESPN 300 players, a tight end, Brady Prescorn, the number 92 overall prospect, and then they later added Gerard Smith, a defensive tackle who was the 169th overall prospect. They now have 9 300 recruits in the 2024 class, which is 3 more than the program signed in 2023. 2023 was kind of a down year because Harbaugh was going to go to the Vikings, and then he wasn't, and then they had some coordinator issues, and Josh Gaddis left, and, pay attention to this podcast if you want to know all things Michigan. Okay. The most important thing out of this is the 6'6", 215-pound tight end chose the Wolverines over the following schools. And you just tell me if you think this is a big deal, okay? Comment down below. Alabama, Tennessee, Ohio State, Georgia, Ole Miss, Miami, Penn State. Michigan was not getting these players, well, as close as last year, 2023, obviously. And if you want to go big picture, they haven't gotten players over the said schools, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, etc., ever. This is new territory. Smith, the number 169, the defensive tackle in the fold, he also chose them over the same kind of handful of schools. Prescorn is now the second highest ranked commit behind quarterback Jaden Davis, who also signed in 20. He's the number 3 overall, or the number 3 dual threat prospect, and he has his recruiting hat on. He added Prescorn, and they are joining running back Jordan Mitchell, safety Jacob Oden, and linebacker Jacob Curtis, and offensive lineman Andrew Spagu, and Luke Hamilton, another tight end. So Michigan's really ramping it up. Michigan really hasn't had this high level of recruiting in years, ladies and gentlemen. So this is really good as a Michigan fan if you are one. Again, I want to apologize, everyone. We were talking about Colorado and the questionable coaching decisions that Deion Sanders is having. Fancy Trash Can then had some internet issues. I ran it about Michigan for a little bit. Then I stopped, so now we're back. So I'm going to ask kind of him to cut it together, and it's going to be piecemeal. What I am going to do is I'm going to promise you guys an episode next week because we had I had a really good rant about the SEC not allowing or trying to prevent storming the field that I covered in the 10-minute sports report, which is exclusively on YouTube. So please go check that out. Everyone, thank you for listening. Those who do listen to that, go check that out. But I had a really good rant, and we were going to talk about the SEC kind of in the fold a little bit more as it comes. So I'm going to promise you guys an episode. I'm going to end it kind of here soonish. I'm going to promise you guys another episode next week. Maybe it's 2 30-minute episodes instead of 1 60-minute episode, but we'll hopefully do it in back-to-back weeks. Thank you, everyone who listens to us. Anchor.fm/4th-and-1. Go check us out. Toss us a few dollars and cents if you want to. If not, enjoy listening. Thank you. Again, I really do this for education. Twitter, I've said this before, Twitter is a very toxic place. And it was basically screaming into the void anyway. I didn't felt heard. But this way, I'm able to communicate more. I can use my hands, my voice, and really get my point across. Then it kind of transformed into basically education for my mom. So, Mom, shout out to you and everything you've done for this podcast, for me and Fancy Trash Cans. And then now my mom's side of the family, my my late grandfather, R.I.P. Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston's dead. Everyone who in my family gets that joke. We're big-time listeners. My uncles are big-time listeners. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I really, really do appreciate it. It makes me feel heard. Tabitha, the 10-Minute Sports Report is for you, hands down. So thank you for listening there. You wanted it. You got it. So everyone who listens to this podcast, it's literally 10 minutes, sometimes shorter, rarely longer, and it's longer by like a minute and 30 seconds. It gives you everything on what happened the day before and what's kind of upcoming. Right now, NBA is big. I give you scores, and I just kind of give you some quick kind of quips and thoughts that are on my mind around that. So it's basically NBA playoff coverage and scores, NHL playoff coverage and scores, and then things like Aaron Rodgers signing with the Jets. That just happened, which is crazy that the Jets basically traded for the Packers' old, aging, no longer wanted quarterback. 15 years apart. Man, life is crazy. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the podcast here. Thank you, everyone, for listening. God bless you. Wash your hands, you filthy animals. I don't have any music because Simeon, or Fancy Trash Cans, the one who has the producer stuff with all the buttons, so I just got to cut you off. We will be back next week for another short little 30-minute episode. And until then, wash your hands. God bless you. Peace out. Enjoy this episode, and we'll talk next week. Peace.